So in this video, we'll be talking about the limitations of no-code. Now, no-code is a movement that came about for non-technical people like digital marketers, designers, and anybody in the tech discipline who doesn't know how to code but are in the tech discipline. Okay, but they want to create products and ship and create businesses around it. It was meant for those people. This movement is especially appealing for those people. Although yes, programmers can also use no-code tools to develop digital products if it makes their work faster. But that's whom it was. Now the question that comes about as often when I used to do no-code tutorials, and I still do no-code tutorials as well, but just not as often. One question that comes up is, okay, what can you and can you not build with no code? So in this video, we'll be talking about limitations of no code. So what can no code do? Well, the thing that no code that as we talked about, it was meant for non-technical people. So you can think about what are the possible ideas that non-technical or non-computer sciencey people would come up with. So those are mostly consumer level products, things like portfolios, blogs, websites. And if you want to create a startup, something like Airbnb, or if you want to launch a service or a product company, you can most like you there is almost no excuse. You can start with no code. You can almost build anything and everything. Like Bubble allows you to implement complex workflows. There's Glide, there's DraftBit, there's Webflow. There's a lot of tools, and there's even tools to create wise applications like VoiceFlow. So there's almost no limit to what you can build. But I would be lying if you can literally build anything and everything, almost to the point that there is no use of learning code. And we already talked about the fact that no code tools actually all they do is when you drag and drop or do any visual programming on the back end, they basically translate to code. Now, the thing with no code, the limitation is basically that, okay, let's say for example, you want to implement a specific functionality that doesn't exist with any of the components that you find on the internet. Now, let's say for example, you want to build something like Snapchat. Now, because Snapchat already exists, now you can break the components of Snapchat, and you can think, okay, now things like AR filters can be implemented quite easily today because a lot of people have done it. Instagram has copied it, and so the more time you let it go, and the more popular technology gets, the more easier and more available that piece of technology becomes. Now you can install third-party. People can you can install third-party stuff on top of no-code platforms, but the limitations is that, let's say for example, you want to create something something on a very detailed level or on a very low level. So things like, if you have watched Silicon Valley, they basically in the TV series they build a compression company. Okay, basically it's a technology that compresses all your files, and obviously they build a lot of technologies on top of that. All right, so but the basic the most core product or value is the compression algorithm, right? So the something like that, all right, the way how the the whole compression stuff works, that's not the kind of thing that no code, at least at this time, is able to do. So like if you want to, like for example, upload functionality, okay, now something like uploading files. Now file uploader, like uploading files. Now maybe you want to say, okay, I want to create an uploader, a file uploader that has a webcam, an option to choose from webcam, and also be able to upload pictures from their local files. If you want to achieve that, you can actually achieve that because there are third-party libraries or third-party plugins that can help you to that can help you achieve that. But let's say nobody has ever built a kind of functionality like that ever before. It might be difficult to build something. Now, it's difficult to sort of say exactly to like. There are so many examples that I can go through and sort of illustrate. One of the examples is compression, right? Because compression already exists. But the only thing we're trying to do is that, okay, well, what you're trying to do is that the compression so far is it's a low level stuff, right? So that's how the backend works. Now, what Nocode is going to do, at least in right now, is be able to let you develop like custom front end, okay, the interfaces and workflows. Now you're only developing custom front end, but the back end are basically abstracted and the functionalities like sign in and sign up and for example storing data, reading data, deleting data, and sort of sending data to another service or another application. Like these are standard operations or standard methods that are included in almost is being used in almost every single application, a web application. So these are standardized controls. So what Nocode said is that most people don't want to build another compression algorithm unless you're building something like a compression company. Unless you're doing something like that, you pretty much you'll be better off using other people's tools. Now, the thing that Nocode sort of became one of the reasons why Nocode became popular, like in the last 2 to 3 years, is because up until then you can use WordPress. You could have used WordPress and Weebly and Webs to still build websites, but the problem with those sites was that there still existed plugins. But the problem with those is that the amount of the kind of things that you can control was so limited. Okay, like you install a plugin and that functionality is implemented. Now that can be really, really cool if that's what you want. Is I just want to implement the functionality. All I want is a forum site. I don't care how it looks. I don't care what icons it has, and I just want a forum. All right. If you want something like that, you could have done that even before Nocode was popular. But now with Nocode, you have more control over how individual components look and feel in Nocode. Now, obviously things that I said here are vague. So what I would suggest you to do is to have a better understanding of what each Nocode tool is made for and what are its limitations. Now I'll go through some of the most popular tools and what it's for and what it can do, so it can give you an idea on how to test drive with your next project idea. Okay, Bubble.io. Okay, Bubble. Go check out Bubble, and Bubble is a web application, a website builder that allows you to create applications that have data that users can contribute, that you can upload, that has like user system workflows, like things like, for example, when I click on a button, you want to have a sequence of instructions being executed, but obviously they are on a specific level. They don't talk about, like, for example, sign in. Okay, now typically, the typical sign-in procedure is you just authenticate and then you redirect the person to the next page, like the main page. But you maybe, I don't know, like with sign in, while it's being signed in, you want to have some custom functionality, like like I don't know, like I can't think of, because I'm not creating a sign-in company. Like I don't want to create another company like that. But let's say you want to have something. You want to change the procedure how sign-in works, right? then you would need something like code. Okay, so I'm actually going out of my where I started off, so I'm digressing from the point. Now, Bubble allows you to create web applications that can store data, they can retrieve data. You can even integrate with other third-party plugins. There are so many plugins, and you can also install like third-party components. And the problem is that it can't really now. You can build a tech company out of it because it actually allows you to create APIs. So APIs are basically the web application that can interact with. You can build a mobile application and use this as your server or your database, and you can send requests from your mobile application to this server, and you can interact with this application. So what that does is basically you can create the foundation on Bubble, and you can make sure that it's scalable. So when people say that Bubble is not scalable, I would actually go as far as to say that Bubble is probably the most scalable solution out there, no code solution out there, almost more than even Webflow, if you ask me. Because Bubble, it's not just about what technology it has right now, because Webflow, which is the most popular no-code tool at this time, obviously depends on which demographic you're talking about, but I guess in terms of the number of users, I would say maybe Webflow has like the highest number of users. Anyways, Webflow, the problem with Bubble is that the website builder is not really user friendly for building mobile websites, at least as of right now. Although yes, you can build responsive sites, but the process of building is just a little, it's not so convenient. Like, to get the absolute pixels right, you might have to forego a little bit, a couple of things, animations, and in your, like, if you're a designer and you care about exactly how things have to look, you might have to work with Bubble for some time, and then you'll understand, okay, how Bubble really works, and how you can port your design to Bubble. Now, I do live streams occasionally. Now I've not done it yet, but I will create a live stream probably shortly, or probably it would have already happened. I will do some regular live streams, and we'll be building on applications with Bubble, so you'll understand what I mean. So you can see how I build my products without code. If you want to see my process, but okay. So let's move on to Webflow. Webflow allows you to build websites. Now, the thing is that you can almost do everything that you can do with Bubble, but yes, the thing is that it's not really like, yes, you can build applications, websites that have data driven, you can allow users to submit data to your application. You can even integrate with third-party services like Zapier, and it's more like, it's very user friendly for designers, because let's say, for example, because it has a very predictable, responsive site builder solution, if that makes sense. It's easier to build, or at least predictable, when it comes to building responsive websites. All right. So the problem with Webflow is that when you compare it with Bubble, if you want to build something like complex workflows, and you want to build a tech company, like things like API integration and stuff like that, Webflow is just not as powerful. Like, Webflow is very user friendly for designers, but at least at this time, if you want to build something like a Airbnb like startup, it's kind of difficult with Webflow. Webflow obviously is as I said, it's the most biggest. It also has it has like probably is the richest company of all the no code companies, I guess. So it has a roadmap in which they're about to build functionalities like workflows, user signups, and things like that. You can also build e-commerce sites, and things are more like sort of I guess Webflow is in between WordPress and Bubble. And if you allow me to put that, if you allow me to position Webflow, that's where I would put it. Okay, let's talk about also tool like Glide. And now Glide is a mobile app builder. Now, initially, I was talking about it like a mobile application builder. Now, it's more suitable for creating progressive web apps. Now, what progressive web apps are, if you're not familiar already, is that it's basically an application hosted on a website, on a web server. Okay, so if you go to the website like facebook.com, let's say for example, you'll see a mobile website, right? But it's still a website. Now, a progressive web app feels like a native app. It does not have the kind of delay. It does not have like multiple pages. It doesn't render pages like a regular website would do. It is made to feel like an app, and you can add it to your home screen. The only difference between a progressive web app and a native iPhone app or an Android app is that instead of going to the App Store or the Play Store, you'll go to the website and add that app to your home screen. That's exactly the only difference, but yeah, that's what Glide is really useful for. Now, if you want to create a native application, it's kind of more difficult. Glide, the more I learn about it, what I learn is that Glide is mostly made for people who want to build applications for unconventional purposes. Like for example, one of the use cases could be if you want to build an application that can be accepted by App Store. All right, things like internal applications, like an application for your company, for your school. Now these things are a little bit too much to upload to the App Store for. Now you can just upload this app to your website, or you can just use Glide apps, and people can just go to the website and add and use the application, and instead of downloading the app from the App Store. And the advantage of using a progressive web app is that you don't really need to make users update the application. Now the trade-off that you make with Glide apps or with the progressive web app is that actually progressive web apps work offline too. But Glide apps, to function properly, you will need to have users the users need to be connected to the internet to use your apps. Now, I guess that's not a very big problem these days when almost everybody has a data connection and a Wi-Fi connection. But it's nevertheless a concern. Like, let's say for example, you're going on a flight and you're creating a productivity application using Glide. Flights these days do have Wi-Fi, but they're usually only for emergency purposes or sort of the lightweight purposes. But that's what it usually is not user friendly for offline applications, at least. Okay, now there are tools like Webflow. Webflow is for creating voice applications, like for Amazon Alexa and Google Home. Now, to be honest with you, I have not really built anything for Alexa, but I actually have built a skill before, like an Amazon Alexa skill before. But I used a different tool for it, and it used to be called something I don't even remember. Now, that tool today sucks, to be honest with you. I made a tutorial on how to build an Alexa skill using that tool, but it's so sad, but the whole platform has changed ever since they got venture capital and funding. I don't mind if they're charging the users, but the platform has also sort of digressed in different paths. But it's okay. There's a tool called Webflow, which is a really good alternative, and I would say it's better than what I sort of proposed in that tutorial video. So if you're interested, I did try out making some test voice applications, and it was interesting. I mean, it was really cool. It was able to do what I wanted to do, and I have not hit any obstacles so far. There's also a tool called Twilio, and this tool is really useful for building interactive chat applications or bots, if I can say, or interactive voice applications. So things like calling a number and automatic responses and stuff like that. So that's what an IVR is. So you can create those kind of things with Twilio. Now Twilio can also be used by programmers, and you can also code applications using the Twilio API, or you can use Twilio as a no-code tool and build it graphically. So you can use any of the tools that you think is more applicable to your purpose. Now, I guess that's some recap. I guess that's some description of what you can build with no-code tools. But the idea is this, okay, that there's a certain level of complexity, or sort of, it's like, at least right now, no-code is focused on enabling you to build any kind of front end, but the back end will remain, sort of, at least until we have perfected the front end, the back end will remain in a way that, okay, most people don't want to build a custom sign up. All right, like, you don't want to build a custom sign up functionality. Now, if you really want to build something like that, yes, you need to get coders and build something really custom. But yes, like I mentioned, it depends on what level of let's say specificity of your requirements are. If your requirements contain something that are basically, like, for example, if you can put something like this, okay, if you can say the camera app I want is a combination of Instagram and Snapchat. Now you can build something like that because Instagram and Snapchat already exist. But if you want to build a functionality using ideas that not even exist, then that's where you hit complications. Now, it's not exactly it's not actually not like, don't think that if you think that something doesn't exist, then you cannot make it out of no code, because chances are that you might have not heard of third-party libraries. Now, for example, you want to build an instant messenger that allows you users to, instead of sending text, you can send hand-drawn messages, like drawing and stuff. Obviously, there are tools that allow you to do it, but let's say you didn't know that a tool like that existed, you might be missing out on the opportunity. So I would say, go give this a try if you are skeptical. But yeah, again, so this is as much as, I did try to do my research, and Bubble, by the way, has a page dedicated to what you cannot build. All right, so I think I will leave the link to that also in the description of this video. And Bubble, in my opinion, is one of the most sophisticated visual app builder out there. So if you can't build anything out of Bubble, chances are you might not be able to build with any other website builder, because that's the most powerful website builder. I have not seen anything come close to Bubble, right? Come close, yes. There are tools like Adalo and Webflow, but at least for the time being, I would say Bubble is taking the lead. It has a balance of ease of use as well as power. Now, obviously, Webflow is coming close to that and probably will take over Bubble, but I think nevertheless Bubble has some advantages, like Figma imports and the interface and the workflow builder and stuff like that. Those things are some things that I don't know how good those things will be with Webflow. So yeah, Bubble is a good benchmark for these reasons, so check those out. And VoiceFlow is one new category. No, BuildBox and Unity are some tools that are used for game development as well. Now, Unity is a tool that is pretty much used by pros as well, like to build any kind of game for almost any platform, including like Linux, PlayStation, like almost I think 3, 4, 5, and in almost any platform we can think of. All right, but BuildBox is used for creating hyper casual games. Now you can build without code using both these platforms. But if you're building hyper casual games, and if you want to get inside what like game building for the first time, try to use Buildbox. Buildbox is a very interesting tool to get into game development. And once you master that and you think that it's not allowing me to build the kind of game I want, you can hop onto Unity. Unity does have like you can almost build a lot of things without code, like basic stuff. But then obviously it's also a tool used by professionals. Now there's a lot of plugins that you can install and sort of make it like, and you can just use other people's assets and sort of build your game. So that's why I said it's also almost a no-code tool, but you can obviously, once you're ready, or if you think that, okay, I can achieve more with these kinds of tools, so I want to learn to program, you can step into Unity. WordPress is the most cheapest no-code solution I can find, because basically with WordPress you can host WordPress onto your own server, and usually hosting applications onto your own server, be it on Amazon AWS or Heroku or whatever service you're using, would be much cheaper than using Webflow, Bubble, or any other service. Obviously that's dependent on the usage, but WordPress is mainly a blog builder, and in the amount of, let's say, versatility with WordPress can be extremely high. Like you can customize everything, but for that you need to know code. But if you want to extend the functionality of WordPress, you can install plugins, but if you want to customize the plugins, you need to know how to code. I hope that sort of clears it out. If there's anything, I make regular streams on, I'll do regular live streams on how I build my application, so you can join those. I've not announced like which day I do those. I've like sort of not fixed the date or fixed the day. I'm sorry. So I'll let you know probably in the next video. But for now, subscribe to this channel. Click the bell icon to be notified of any new videos. I make these kinds of videos almost every week. So yeah, I shall see you guys in another video very soon. Thank you guys for watching.